Hello from Turkey. My name is Ömer Çimen. In this presentation, I'll be talking about what waits construction industry in the post-circular economy era. The presentation will start with brief descriptions of economy and circular economy, and we'll move on with the impacts of construction and construction in the circular economy era, post-circular economy era actually, and some other prospective challenges that we might face in the near future. When looking at the definition of economy, we see that it is a social system that organizes the production, distribution, and consumption of products. Well, this is actually a typical definition of linear economy as well, and in which limited lifetime of a product is the primary focus, and it ignores the after consumption time period. So in linear economy, we basically take raw material from the environment, from the natural environment. We make products and we use them. And once we are done with using the products, we waste the material and components. But as we all witness more of material shortages and environmental problems, along with some changes in technology and even some generational preferences, it is clear that we now moving towards circular economy. So what is the aim of circular economy? In circular economy, resources are used at their maximum value for as long as possible, while combining industrial ecology, recycling, and use of waste material and byproducts. It is considered the best sustainable development model. And by decoupling, circular economy aims to disconnect economic activity from finite material consumption as opposed to the traditional view, which constitutes that economic activity is heavily dependent on finite material consumption. Circular economy is a restorative and regenerative industrial economic approach, and it is founded on three main pillars. First one is removing the waste out of the system and keeping products in use for as long as possible and regenerating natural systems. So, as opposed to the linear economy model, we see a circular shape of economy model in which at the first stage we take material, but this time preferably recycled material. We make new products out of those recycled material, and after the end of lifetime, we reuse those reclaimed or recycled material out of the product itself. So it is a circular shape of economy. Well, the famous triple R, we all know that reuse, reduce, and recycle. Now we have even more R principles, totaling 10 R principles of circular economy, starting with recover and ending with refuse, in an order from the least circular to the most circular principles. And in the circular economy, the user or the consumer pays only for the use of the product, and it doesn't necessarily pay. The user or the consumer doesn't necessarily pay for the material ownership, because manufacturer or the material supplier retains the sole material ownership and eventually responsibility of the material. Let's remember the impacts of construction over environment and economy. Construction has the greatest consequences on society, economy, and the environment, and it is responsible for shortages in natural resources, like water and aggregates. And construction increases pollution, material demands, and it is the largest consumer of raw materials and energy while generating the highest amount of waste, and yet it is still the main contributor to landfill. Moving on with the more impacts of construction, 40% of urban solid wastes are primarily caused by construction-related activities, 23% of CO2 emissions caused by, again, construction. And construction is responsible for half of the greenhouse gas emission in the UK and about 40% of the total waste in China. And globally, 65% of total aggregates and 20% of metal material are consumed in construction. And finally, it is responsible for the consumption of about 60% of raw material. But all those impacts also mean that construction has the greatest potential in generating value and taking advantage of the circular economy. But how? How do we take advantage of circular economy? Well, by working more on replacing materials, existing materials with sustainable materials, sustainable alternatives. And there's some studies already investigating, such as recycled aggregate, bio-based material, and some organic waste to produce construction materials or substitute them with sustainable alternatives. In circular economy era, we'll see even more reuse practices, more efforts to reuse existing building materials and components, and some other practices under industrial symbiosis. And via urban mining, it is now possible to estimate the citywide reuse potential of building components, and buildings are now being designed for easier deconstruction because we need that for structural element reuse. And under industrial symbiosis, we can now utilize recycled hazardous material for large number of application areas within the construction industry. And steel slags are now being investigated as cementitious material, sewage sludge, and cellulose from sewage sludge. They're also now being investigated to replace traditional concrete components. And concrete and aggregate will be recycled more than ever before in circular economy because of their environmental benefits. And recycled aggregates in the recent studies show that they actually provide similar properties to natural aggregates. Well, recycling, even though it may sometimes need more transportation because of the additional recycling process, it still prevents landfilling, which plays a primary role in circular economy. And construction and demolition waste will not be waste anymore in circular economy because they are now considered as precious resources. And we'll be seeing more efforts to reuse construction demolition waste and witness some new legislations to prevent landfilling. Because, as I mentioned earlier, construction and demolition waste provide high economic and environmental benefits. But we still have some problems in terms of construction demolition waste management due to the nature of construction industry, which is highly profit-driven and change-resistant nature. Buildings will serve multi-purposes under circular economy, and they'll be more flexible and modular than ever before, and combined with circular design principles. Reuse of buildings, flexible and modular buildings, not only provide environmental and economic benefits, but also some opportunities for sharing economy that may even help homelessness problem and that some of the countries are facing. And flexible and modular buildings that they can also help governments or countries to cope with changing housing demand over time that can be caused by many different reasons, such as population movement and changing in urban settings. And finally, the circular building design does not only concern with environmental and economic benefits, but also overall residential well-being and health benefits for the society. In this final section, I try to summarize some other challenges that we might face in the upcoming circular economy. Incentives and penalties are some of the issues that we might face in the circular economy era because we need them to transform construction industry towards circular economy, and yet we have many diverse stakeholders in the construction industry who may have a lack of understanding in sustainability, and it is a big challenge for circular economy. And limitation on material choice. Buildings today are now expected to have more natural material than ever before. New professional skills. Some of the studies are calling for new professional skills under circular economy. One of them called for circular economy manager who can provide knowledge and support for circular economy practices. And because of circular economy gives too much importance on sourcing locally, we may have some limitation on material supply in terms of regional access and supply of material. And we need new market mechanisms for circular economy that can help recovery of the material through recovery markets. And similar to getting a loan from a bank when we need financial funds for our projects, in the near future we may see some sort of loan, material loan from material bank, which enables us to borrow some material for a certain time or period that we can use in our buildings. And new business models, we need business models implementing industrial symbiosis or product life extension or take back model. Those are important aspects of new business models in circular economy. And ownership issues we may face because now the material owner is a different entity, while the user or the seller, they're all different entities, and we may need to have some clarification over ownership issues under circular economy. And new legislation, the economic ownership is still a long-standing issue that needs to be defined in the real estate law. Those are the challenges we may face. And thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.